Welcome to Caribou Country Lifestyle. My name is Cheryl, and today I am not staking my tomatoes yet. I have tied up a couple of my tomatoes, but today I'm cleaning them up, pruning, and taking out the suckers on the tomatoes. See, they still have at least another 8 to 10 inches to go before I can actually start tying them to this panel. But I'm just cleaning them up, and I'm taking off the lower branches. Anything that can touch the ground, I'm taking off all of those lower branches, and then in the elbow of the plant, I'm taking out the little sucker, and I can just pinch those off with my fingers. So I'm just going to bring you in a little bit closer so that I can show you what I'm doing. So here I have, these are my Cherokee purple tomatoes, and I've already cleaned up the bottoms of these ones, and I left this one here. So I'm going to be taking off all these bottom leaves off of the tomato plant. So I've got my little snips, and I'm just snipping off all of these lower leaves because I want as much airflow to be able to get to the plant as possible. And I'm going to snip off this one as well, and I have another one in the back here, and I'm going to snip that off. And then I have a bucket here that I'm putting all my trimmings off, and then that'll go into my compost. Now these ones aren't very big, but right there, that's the sucker. It's kind of in the elbow of the tomato plant, and I'm just gonna pinch those right off. And like I say, they're not very big right now, but you don't want them to start getting too big. And so I've cleaned this one up, and like I say, it still needs some time before it's going to reach to this panel before I can actually start tying it up. I did have one that is bending over, but it's not quite tall enough to be able to tie it up on the panel. So I'm going to show you ones that I have cleaned up, and I've tied it up as this bed. Because this panel is it's lower to the plant, a lot closer to the plant, I was able to tie these ones up, and I just use like a stretchy tape that's on a roll, and I just tie it to the plant loosely, give it enough room here. There's lots of grow room for it, and as it grows up the panel, then I will keep tying it. I've done the same to this one. This one isn't as tall as these two have gotten, so I haven't had to tie it up yet. And all of these varieties in my raised bed are indeterminate varieties. When I talk about an indeterminate variety, these here are an indeterminate variety. This is my chocolate sprinkles. And even though they're a cherry tomato, it can still be an indeterminate variety. So what that means is it's going to grow an indeterminate amount to height. You don't know how tall this is going to grow. So trimming the bottom leaves isn't going to affect how tall it gets. Trimming those bottom leaves are just going to bring in more airflow, which will help with less diseases. It'll also, when you're watering, it's not going to splash up onto the leaves as the plant grows, and then it will get tied to this panel as it grows all the way up. I will just keep adding another strip of that stretchy tape and just keep tying it all the way up, because as the tomatoes grow, the plant gets quite heavy, and you need to be tying it up, and that's why I have them up against these cattle panels, is because these are quite strong and they can handle the weight of the tomatoes and of the plant itself. So I also have determinate varieties, and all my determinate varieties are on the deck. I do have a couple of indeterminate varieties because I had no more room out here in my raised beds to be able to put any more out here. Right now I have I have 26 tomato plants that I have out here in the raised bed gardens. That's quite a few, and then I'm going to take you out onto our deck, and I'm going to show you the determinate varieties, and I have some indeterminate varieties on the deck, but like I say, I had no room to be able to plant them out here. So let's go over and we'll take a look at my tomatoes on my deck, and I'm going to show you how to prune a determinate variety tomato. Quite a bit brighter over here on the deck. So on this side is a determinate tomato. This is a lemon boy, and with a determinate tomato I can use these tomato rings, because with a determinate tomato it's only going to get to a determined height. So the pruning on a determined tomato is going to be different as opposed to an indeterminate. This is a sweetie cherry, and it's an indeterminate type of a cherry tomato. And like I say, I had no room to have these out on my deck or out on my raised bed garden, so I brought these in. I am going to use a tomato cage, but I'm also going to put in some bamboo stakes, because this tomato is going to surpass this cage, and I will still need to tie it once it gets past the cage. So that's when I'm going to bring in some long bamboo stakes, and I will tie it to the bamboo stakes, and then that will keep it stable so it doesn't topple over. So I showed you how to do the indeterminate. Now with a determinate, I am still going to prune off this very bottom branch because it's touching the soil. And that's just, like I say, going to cause disease. So when you're watering it, I don't want it to be splashing up on the leaves, the dirt, or the water to splash up on the leaves, because that's what causes the most disease. Now in the middle here, all I'm going to be doing is removing those suckers in the elbows of the plant. That's all you have to do with a determinate variety. So I'm going to they're so easy to pinch out. If they were bigger, I would definitely use my snips, because you could end up damaging the plant if the sucker is too big. So I'm just cleaning that up, and then I'll just take this one in the very top pocket out. And this the lemon boy, it actually has, I can see if there's some buds here that it's going to start flowering, and the sweetie cherry is already flowering on this one. So this one again, I'm going to trim out all these bottom branches so that it gets good airflow, and then I am going to pinch out whatever suckers. There's none on these bottom branches, but up here we have some suckers in the pockets, in the elbows of the leaves. And this one's pretty thick, so I'm going to use my snips and just snip it out. And then the rest are pretty small. I can just use my fingers and pinch them right out, and they're so easy. So there you have it. It's really easy to look after your tomatoes, and like I say, a determinate is going to do well with just this tomato cage. It has a determined height that it will get to. There will be a determined amount of tomatoes that'll grow on it. Whereas an indeterminate, it's just going to keep growing and you're going to keep getting tomatoes. And I mean, the cherry tomatoes are wonderful. This cherry tomato, the sweetie cherry, these seeds that I started, this sweetie cherry, they're actually seeds that I collected last year from my sweetie cherry plant, tomato plant that I had last year. And that is another easy way to collect seeds. And I'll show you what that looks like towards the end of the season when I've got my tomatoes at the end. And that's usually when I start collecting the seeds, is towards the end. So I hope you like this video. If you like this video, put a like in there. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.